give money to the government so they could tell you you're racist, sexist, xenophobic, and fund a bunch of foreign wars against your interests day. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself. I had 50 minutes, so I didn't really have an agenda or a story that inspired me today, but I wanted to chat. So ask me anything. I'm going to read some comments on Facebook and YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't think I could see Rumble. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. But everything I see in my sidebar, I'm going to try to answer a few questions and just kick it with you guys. Hopefully you enjoy the show. Give me a thumbs up if everything sounds good. Dream Rare Podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's cracking? Marla, Dale, Karen, Kelly, Trisha, $500 fine. Interesting name. Luciana, Tracy. Would I shave my head if Trump loses? No, because I don't want him to lose, or I don't know. Like usually, like you shave your head if you're wrong about something. I don't see there's no bet there that like I think Trump's going to lose, so I shave my head. I don't know what you're getting at, but maybe we could think of another bet and I'll shave my head if I lose. But I just wanted to present a song to you guys. It's called Tax Day. It goes a little something like this. It goes, "It's tax day. Zelensky needs your money. It's tax day. Give your money to the government so they can start a war against your own interests and call you racist for disagreeing," or whatever. Something like that. I don't know. I'm working on it. It's a work in progress, as they say. Anyway, question for Anomaly. Who can I listen? Nelson, let's try to keep it PG, okay? We got kids here. Actually, I don't know if we have kids here, but we're going to say we do, so I just completely ignore your question. Something about the IRS being in your behind. Listen, that's between you and the IRS, okay? If you do it in private, it's not my business. Anyway, the Beatles did it better? I would hope so. I would hope they did it better. If not, then they're an overrated band. I'm not saying they're overrated. I like the Beatles. I'm just saying if they couldn't do better than that, that's pretty sad. I'm no Elvis Presley, freestyling a song. But anyway, thoughts on the Drake Rick Ross diss towards each other? I'm tapped out of like mainstream hip hop culture. Like I don't know what they're doing anymore. So even the J. Cole Kendrick Lamar diss, I've just been like ignoring it. Basically, I still like hip hop music. I still like good music. I don't care about their little beefs and stuff anymore. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. Like that's where I'm at now. I just don't care. Like I used to play Madden a lot and care about football. Now I don't care that much anymore. I'm not saying I'm better for not caring. I didn't even know they dissed each other. Beatles are overrated. I don't think so. I think they're pretty fire. I think Golden Slumbers, banger, classic, legendary. There's other good songs. Obviously, it's the Beatles. They got a lot of hits, but whatever. Okay, serious question, Anomaly. Have you heard of the red heifer sacrifice? Yeah, absolutely. I haven't fully covered it, but I've been watching videos on it, etc. Like I said in my last video, I don't want to talk about this the entire time because I feel like I've talked about it so much recently. But if you don't understand Zionism and you don't understand Christian Zionism and Judeo-Zionism, politics won't make sense, like at all. Like nothing. You'll be like, why did he do that? Or like it's like missing the biggest piece of a puzzle. And then that's why I laugh at all these Republican podcasters that never talk about Zionism at all. Or they just say everything's anti-Semitic because they're just depriving their audience of the reality of what's really going on. So, there's a potential altar sacrifice, two religions using each other, even though they believe the exact opposite outcome, etc. It's fascinating stuff, but maybe I'll do a whole video on it sometime. I appreciate your views, bro. Makes me feel less alone. Well, thank you, Joseph, but you're still alone. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate you. Yeah, I do this. I make myself feel less alone with people like you, Joseph, and people that don't say I'm crazy for being honest. So thank you. Why wait? Interview Dr. Shiva again. It's a possibility. If you want me to, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Anomaly, this is why you're the last one left on my YouTube. Well, thank you, Audra. I appreciate it. If it's just me, you're in good hands. Just kidding, but thank you. Do I think Biden will send troops to Israel now that Iran sent drones? No, I don't think Biden will send troops, but he'll definitely send foreign aid whenever Congress says to. Here's all I'm going to say. Listen, I don't even really want to say this because it's pretty obvious slash, I guess, hate speech or whatever. But I'm no expert on defense mechanisms, and I'm not saying that there couldn't have been a lapse in judgment or whatever. But what's the point of even talking about certain stuff if you can't point out the fact that how many drones did Iran and missiles did Iran send at Israel? And then the hand gliders got through the defense mechanisms, not the drones. Like the hand glider attack was more effective than like sending high level drones. I mean, that's for that country to figure out what happened there. God bless the victims, obviously, but to me, it just sounds insane. Isn't that what Charlie Kirk said? And then he had to like stop talking about it or whatever. He didn't talk about it anymore. He's like, how did that happen? I've been to Israel. He's like, it's the size of New Jersey. How did it get through? And it's like, I can't tell you what happened. And I'm not saying it didn't happen because that's probably like a felony at this point. You're not allowed to question history when it comes to that country. But yeah, I don't know. It sounds like the whole thing is just kind of crazy to me, like including what's going on now. Me personally, like I did the research a couple years ago and I came to the conclusion that I thought that Israel wanted more land there and they wanted to expand, So the fact that the justification to expand happened, it's just crazy. Dana said, notice how all our politicians kiss the wall. Obviously, I absolutely have noticed that. But noticing is going to be a crime eventually. So notice now while it's still legal because, what is it called? A thought crime. It's like 1984. Have I heard of Bishop Mari getting stabbed? Yeah, I did hear that. I don't know who did it. I read like people arguing in the comment section of Patrick Bet-David's Instagram post about it, but yeah, I didn't know who that guy was before, but apparently a Christian got stabbed in Australia, right? He's like a very famous pastor of some sort who traveled to Palestine in November. So yeah, it's very interesting stuff for sure. I'm gonna wait till the dust settles on that, but obviously I condemn any sort of terrorism or stabbing of any religious leader. So yeah, it's a sad, crazy story that I'm just not trying to jump the gun on. Anomaly, why do you think that all of these politicians sell out to so easily to the Zionists? Do you think they're threatening, or how can they be controlled? I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you why people do certain things. Like, why does Trump do it? Why does DeSantis do it? I'm not sure. They might, like, certain Christians might have a religious thought process behind it. Like a lot of boomers think unless they worship a foreign country that they're going to hell or something. So that's part of it. Another thing, I know that this is now hate speech or whatever, but I think that money is a huge portion of it. Like, why did Trump turn into a pharmaceutical salesman? I think he got paid and then he just went where the business is. Some people are like, Trump's a businessman. He'll do business with anyone, it seems like. So with that sort of thing, maybe it's a business decision. Maybe they're scared. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I would say Zionist media, are you allowed to say that? Pro-Zionist media, they can be very ruthless. They could be very consistent, persistent. I definitely think it's a combination of a lot of things. Like some people might have a religious belief that causes them to feel that way. Some people might have an ethnic belief that causes them to feel that way. Some people might be getting paid to do it. Others might be nervous of the backlash. Others, might just be getting along to get along. Some people might believe in it and, really feel that it's the right thing to do. I can't really speak for everyone, but I could speak for myself. And also, if a politician gets like $100 million and all of a sudden he passes a speech law, to me, it seems like that might have something to do with it. But I think you're not allowed to say that now. It's like hate speech, like to say that donors are paying politicians to do stuff, They're trying to basically make that illegal because now that people realize that donors are paying people, I mean, everyone always knew that, but now it's like, let's make it a hate crime. Let's make it a hate speech. And, you can't say that because of this group and that group. And it's like, I can't speak for everyone. I could speak for myself and why I feel the way I feel. And this is the annoying part too, before I read another comment. I'm not everybody else. And this is not a shield. This is just the truth. Like, I don't agree with everybody in my comment section. I don't agree with everyone that everyone thinks I agree with on everything. I'm saying what I mean. My main concern with all of this stuff is the First Amendment infringement and the speech laws. I mean, that's one of them. Another one is just the fact that we constantly have to give out foreign aid. And it just seems like a lopsided relationship when we're giving out foreign aid all the time, but then we're called hateful and harassed if we disagree with it. So it's like, it doesn't seem like a fair, it doesn't seem like a fair trade-off or whatever. And it's like, you just get called hateful unless you just say like, oh my gosh, you're the best. You've never made a mistake. You've never lied. You're perfect. You're so moral. And I'm so sorry for ever. You need speech loss. Like, that's all you could really say without getting called hateful. But, this is not like, we could talk about one group or one country, which people do often, but it's like a human nature phenomenon, in my opinion, because when I say something like, I made a video, maybe I should upload it and play it for you guys. I think that would be, hopefully it's the right size, but I'll play for you this video I made. You got grown conservative men telling me like, oh, you're just being hateful. Oh, that's just hateful. You're hate. It's like some people just hear the truth and they just think hate speech, like even if it's so simple. Here's a video I made for Instagram and TikTok or whatever and Facebook Reels. I made it today because I was like, this is why I haven't made that many Instagram Reels, because I'm just not really inspired outside of this topic. And people called me hateful for it. So it's probably going to be the wrong shape, but you can get the message. The reason I haven't made that many Instagram Reels recently is I just feel like Republicans are complete controlled opposition. Most of the things that people are talking about is just pointless and circular. And I don't feel like arguing in the comment section, so I've just been going to the gym. Yes, Joe Biden sucks. He's awful. But the last president infringed on the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and nobody seems to care that the entire Republican Party all this year is warp speeding through anti-Semitism hate speech laws, which create hate speech phrases, are begging to police rhetoric, create safe spaces, and revise free speech policies. And one of the hate speech phrases literally includes the word Jesus. Personally, I feel like Republicans, including Trump, DeSantis, Kemp, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and pretty much all of them except for Thomas Massie, are so sold out that they're literally working to slow roll the outlawing of the Bible and Christianity in America. Sounds crazy, right? I believe it's happening, and I think that Republican commentators are incentivized to never talk about this topic and just constantly run you in circles, because the second that they weigh in on this topic, they know that they'll probably get Candace Owens, and they might not want to lose their stability, money, and fame. And for those wondering who are going to ask me, well, what about RFK? Don't care about him either. God bless the guy. He's pretty cool, but I don't think he's running a serious campaign to actually be the president this term, and all signs point to him selling out on this topic as well. Appreciate y'all. God bless. Have a good week. Right. So I just made that video. I was like, I'm not really inspired to make Instagram Reels because it's like I don't feel like arguing with you on Instagram. And also, the Republicans party is infringing on the First Amendment, and I believe they're trying to outlaw Christianity. So I'm tired of pretending like they're so awesome when they're not. And like some grown man who's conservative Christian, I'm guessing, I don't know, white guy, I'm just telling you the truth, I don't know any other way to put it, but like a white guy, he was like, oh, you're just so hateful. Some people just hear something that shatters what they believe and they just say you're being hateful. Like, I'm not being hateful. That's just how I feel, and that's the truth. But, it's like, if you believe that the Republican Party under Trump's going to like fix all these problems, you perceive what I'm saying as hate speech because you hate to think that that's not going to be what happens. So it's like, it's hard to really figure out why people think that or whatever. But, it's just like human nature, I guess. If someone shatters your, I don't know, pre-existing beliefs with something that's obviously true, that you just spiral and project that they're being hateful because you hate to hear it or something. I don't, it's just odd. So it's a lot. This is my overall message. And I wish that people listen to my streams that think that I'm so hateful when I'm not, because I'm not blaming Israel or any group ever. I'm blaming American citizens. Like, it takes everyone playing along in order for it to happen. So it's like, it's no one's fault but our own country. It's not like I blame them. They're doing what's best for their survival. It makes total sense. I respect it. what are American conservatives doing? Like they're just like running in circles around politicians that are so clearly not in alliance with what they're doing. And the only way it's ever going to change is to point it out. But they don't see it that way. They think they just gotta like play along or something. Someone said it seems like the country began falling apart after World War II. It's almost as if a certain group has orchestrated. I mean, still, I just don't believe in. I hear what you're saying, but I don't believe in playing the victim or blaming someone or blaming a group, because you got to just figure out what's going on and then call it for what it is. It only works because no one like knows anything in this country. But there's a lot of reasons that America's been going downhill, culturally, societally, obviously the world wars and stuff. But it's never too late to just know what's going on and call it out. Like if everybody, or at least a large portion of our movement, like realized what's going on and speaks it, then everything changes around that. But there's always a politician to basically make you feel like there's a change, like Obama or Trump. That's my opinion. So, and also the world was never perfect, but clearly a lot of things are declining. So you got to figure out why. Like, why is this happening? Why? I always ask why, not like, oh, this is getting degenerate. Yeah, like, how did that happen? A lot of reasons, but let me see. Someone said, as a Christian, it's sad how churches are manipulated into Zionism. I mean, yeah, that's a whole fascinating conversation, because in the 1900s, Zionism became like predominantly a Christian thought process that never existed for 1900 years before. So studying how that happened, which versions of the footnote Bibles, like the Schofield Bible, etc., kind of push people towards thinking that. Theodore Herzl, is all interesting stuff that people, it's hard to tell somebody that they might be wrong, though. I mean, it's like telling a religious person that their God is wrong. Like a Muslim's not going to be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll believe in Jesus now. Like, it's not that easy. So I think with a lot of Christians, like if you're raised on a certain thought process, it's really hard to get out of what you were told is true, which is kind of like with, I have a psychological theory why so many people fall for QAnon. It's because so many boomers, like especially boomers and like older women, tend to like fall for QAnon. I'm not saying it's the only people, but it seems like a huge portion of it. Everybody got lied to for 20, 30 years in the Republican Party. They believed the news. They didn't realize that they were getting tricked. So as soon as they realized they were tricked, it's like 30 years later, they believed George Bush. They thought they were fighting Muslims to beat up, Osama bin Laden, to do this and that. And then like 30 years later, trillions of dollars spent, multiple wars, Libya, Syria. You start putting the pieces together and you're like, okay, I think I got lied to. And Republicans are finally starting in the last 6 years, especially with Trump, admitting that. So a lot of people have loyalty to Trump because they never knew all of these lies until Trump came around. So they're like, that's the guy who woke me up. That's the guy who told me the truth. And then with the Q stuff, a lot of people used to think that everything was a conspiracy theory. Like, that was the thing that they told you, like, don't think about that. Don't question that. Just believe this, believe the news. So once you realize it's a lie, you're seeking for something else. You're like, I know the mainstream media is not telling me enough. So then they kind of gravitate towards people that are questioning everything. And I think that movement's done a good job to basically like masquerade as like the truth, because they're getting deeper on certain topics. So, all of these stem from people finally realizing that they got tricked. But, there's always another trick around the corner. And it's like, say you were like a Democrat and you like worked for Obama, right? Or like, and then you're like, oh, I had an awakening and now I work for the Republican Party. It's like some people, they're running 100 miles in the Democrat side. They wake up and then they run the other way in the Republican side, and they forget to think critically about what's going on in this party as well. So I see a lot of that as well. Thank you, No Phone Zone. I appreciate you. What am I going to do during the next lockdown? Well, hopefully not be locked down. I would hope that doesn't happen. Would I be, hold on, that was a good question. Facebook, I don't mean to read your stuff less. It's just Facebook, despite having 1.7 million viewers or whatever, followers, 6 million, 1.6 million, sorry. They don't show my live streams anymore. It's like I'm bigger on like Rumble and, the YouTube now, just because like Facebook just wants to show you guys my memes for whatever reason. Would I be willing to interview a libertarian nominee for president after the May convention? No, because first of all, I'm going to just say no for this reason. I've had multiple libertarians on the show: Dave Smith, Clint Russell. Clint will be back on. I'm sure Dave will be back on. I have too many not too many, but like I'm disproportionately bringing on libertarians all the time. I'm not going to bring on like the president nominee because they're not going to win anyway. So it's like, to me, it's like an attention grab. Like, look, I'm the nominee for the president that's going to get 1% of the vote. It's like, I don't care. I'd rather just have Spike Cohen or Dave Smith or somebody that I already want to talk to anyway on. I'm not going to like give someone a platform just because they're going to take 0.5% of the vote. I don't know. It's like I'm running. Cool. I'd rather talk to Clint or Dave or someone. Someone said bad people existed from a long time ago. Indoctrination, control, and tracking us. So sorry, that was a little too long, but yeah, no, I know I'm live on Facebook. I'm just saying, like, they used to blast it out to like thousands of people. I used to get like 10,000 viewers. I'm not complaining. It's just they want shorter content. Now I post a meme and get like 2,000 shares. They just want me to post memes all day and like reels. So, you know, that's why I post memes all the time. Because like my memes will reach my audience, but the live stream, they don't want to show people. I think it's an algorithm. I'm not playing the victim. It's just like Facebook doesn't want to be like YouTube and Rumble anymore. They want to be more like TikTok and Instagram. So, you know, that's what they're rewarding. I don't see anomalies on Rumble. I hope I'm live on Rumble. I mean, if not, it is what it is. I'll check real quick, but if I'm not live on Rumble, well, that's disappointing. Boo. Oh, well, I don't know why. Maybe I didn't click the button or something. Who knows? Have I seen my videos on Letitia James being played by Rick James? No, that sounds wild. What's up from San Antonio? Let's vote for Thomas Massie. I like Thomas Massie. He's the best in Congress. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not on Rumble. I apologize. Where's Candace? I don't know. Probably figuring out what her next move is. Am I on Instagram? Cloddy Boy. That's a wild name. Cloddy Scotty. Scotty Cloddy. Yeah, Dream Rare on Instagram. DreamRare. What's the channel for Rumble? Rumble.com/DreamRare. I've had no problems, so I'm gonna blame myself and not Rumble. I probably misclicked it or something or did something wrong. Someone said eventually Pornhub will be the last place to fight censorship. I would hope that's not true. I would hope that that's not what's going to happen, but who knows? Like, imagine it. I want to just say this. Imagine if I was like, oh, you're being so hateful. Like, that's what you think is going to happen because censorship is bad. So that's your opinion. I'm not saying you're right, but like, you're entitled to your opinion. And I don't think you're being like pessimistic. It's just like, the direction of censorship is like, it could go that way, right? Anytime I say anything, people are like, you're so nihilistic. I'm literally not, though. I'm like a very optimistic, positive person. You're just so pessimistic. I'm literally not. Oh, what's your solution? It's like, it's so funny. As soon as you don't say what people want you to say, they just spiral and act like you're a nihilistic person. I'm like, that's not me at all. It's kind of like, you know, I remember people, was it David Harris I had on or whatever? I think it was. And like, God bless him. He's a super nice guy, right? But you know, it is what it is. I had him on and and I was like, how come you never call out Trump and Republicans on certain things like, you know, that are happening? And his answer is basically with Trump, like, I'm a Christian, you know, like I'm a Christian. I'm like, okay, but you talk about the left all the time. Like, you're not so Christian that you never point out when the left is doing something crazy. But if the right does the same thing, like, you won't talk about it because you're Christian. It's like someone will say, oh, anomaly, all you do is complain. And then I go to their Twitter feed and all their Twitter feed is just Republicans complaining about liberals. Let's just be honest. It's like, you don't want to hear me not say something. You just don't want me to say it about Trump or Republicans. Like, you know, that's just the dynamic of it. Someone said, have on Brother Nathaniel. I got to work a little harder before I do that. Because if I ever have Brother Nathaniel on, they'll definitely try to ruin my life and, you know, destroy all of my income for the rest of the time. So I've seen his interviews. I watched him interview Alex Jones or debate Alex Jones. That was fascinating. I've obviously seen Brother Nathaniel's videos for years, but I'm just being honest. If I ever tried to have him on my show, they would try to ruin my life for like 15 years straight. So I got to get my money up before that happens. Cause I don't know. I'm not saying like I'm going to like lie to you or anything, but it's like, does anybody think I could interview him on Facebook and YouTube? Maybe I could do like a private one on Rumble, and then I'll just shield myself for 2 weeks as the media calls me anti-Semitic 10 million times for interviewing him. But yeah, that him and Alex Jones, that was like a very wild conversation. Someone said worth the $10. It always is, isn't it? Someone said he's a loon. I'm not saying he's autistic, but he seems a little autistic to me. I'm just going to say that. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just like he's he has that vibe of like high IQ, that, in my opinion. I don't know for sure. But am I allowed to say that or no? Is that like hate speech? I don't know. Someone said they probably want to ruin you for being friends with Candace anyway. You're totally right. That's how the smear started. I had an interview with Candace, and she said something about Dennis Prager, and it started showing up on like anti-Semitic fighting Twitter, like Instagram accounts. And she said something, not me. And then they just started digging into all my stuff, and they found all my awesome tweets and all my awesome songs and all my awesome takes. And they're like, look, he said something true and awesome. And I'm like, ugh. Again, and then they found my song Thought Leader, and they were like, this is the craziest song ever. And I'm like, it's a great song. Go look at that, because they hated that song. I was like, there's levels to it. I'm a better student, so sit down, watch the evolution of a kid they said could never do it. Change the name. It's one nation. I think because I said the word Zionism in the song, and I said, it's one nation under Zionism. When you tell the truth, they're going to cry the victim. Every politician lobbied like they take $1 over, make an honest living. That line was not, they were not a fan of that, which I wasn't saying. I was just saying, like, anyway, speaks for itself. It sucks when you have so many awesome lyrics and they find all your awesome lyrics and stuff, whatever. Rumble chat's boring. Yeah, screw you, Rumble. No, I'm just kidding. I don't, it's whatever. I'm not banned on Instagram, am I? Did I just get banned on Instagram? That would be unfortunate. No, I'm good. Dream Rare, DREAMRARE. I'm not banned. But, keep asking me questions. I might be. Anyway. Jake said, I used to work for the Libertarian Party. They're fake. They're 100% controlled opposition. They bring in enough money to turn 1 to 3 states gold every election, but waste it all. Yeah, I mean, their results are pretty obvious. Do I ever call out Andy Frisella? No, he's a good friend of mine, and he's been nothing but awesome to me. So I would talk to him. I don't know, what did he say that bothers you so much? I don't think he agrees with everything I say, and I don't know what you're even mad at that he said, but like, he's been nothing but good to me. So I could go on the podcast and have a conversation, but I don't know. Do I think the people in charge are trying to create false flags? Well, you're not allowed to say that false flags exist, even though historically they obviously do. They're well documented. They're on Wikipedia, in every history book. No one disagrees with them. But, you're supposed to believe false flags have happened forever, but just they stopped, and it's hate speech, and it's a conspiracy theory to say that they ever happen again. I definitely think that there's a good article in CBS about the JFK files that were released under Trump, where it said that, I think it was the CIA or something, I can't remember. They said that, actually, I kind of do remember, but not 100%. I want to be sure. But they were like, we should sink a boatload of Cubans, real or simulated. So that was the conversation being had at the time. Should we literally sink a boatload of Cubans, or should we just simulate it? So, that is like mainstream information on CBS. I think it's, if you search like JFK files, Miami, CBS, it should come up. Someone said people should have respected Dr. Ron Paul. Dude, I loved Ron Paul when he came out. I didn't even know. And here's what I want to say too, because people get so mad at me when I talk about like Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk. They're like, oh, you're so jealous. With Ron Paul, I wasn't libertarian. I wasn't right wing. I didn't know anything about politics really, but I liked Ron Paul because my soul told me that Ron Paul was an honest man. I didn't even know he was right wing or right leaning. Like, I just was like, that old guy is way cooler and more honest than everybody else. And I knew that they were trying to black him out so nobody could like see his stuff. We just need authentic people. We can't have these talking heads just yelling at everybody like liberals. It's like, it's creating this false paradigm where the left hates the right hates the left. They both, I understand why. And like nothing ever gets done because they're not even telling the truth. So it's like, that's like current politics is the people that are elevated. They're not the most talented or interesting and likable, but they are often the most controllable. Like Ron Paul is very likable, but he's not controllable. So you have to knock him down and put up a fake Ron Paul who's like, I'm a libertarian. I'm just going to sell out the first couple amendments and print money. Like, that's what the Republican Party does. They just squash the good people and elevate. Thoughts on Michael Malice? Never thought anything negative about the guy, but apparently he was trying to tell Roseanne not to have me on the podcast or something because I'm so hateful. So I don't appreciate people, trying to block me from opportunities. That's pretty shitty. But as far as like him and his personality, I've never really listened to a podcast with him. I never had anything, never had any bad thoughts at all. But apparently he's never spoken to me yet. He's trying to block me from getting on big podcasts. So that's a little, I don't know. Is that anarchy or is that just his opinion? I'm not sure. I'm not going to read that. John, that's like he's talking. Someone said Andy talks about holding people accountable, but doesn't hold Trump accountable on anything. I mean, I've seen him say some stuff critical of Trump, but I've talked to Andy about it. He has a different thought process of like how to maneuver it. So, he's only been cool to me. He's only been respectful. He's asked for my opinion on some things and even said it on his live stream. So, I don't listen to all his podcasts to hear everything he says about Trump, but we think differently about how to go about that. And I can't help but respect him because he respects me. And like, he'll ask me for my opinion sometimes and he'll be like, no, that makes sense. So I think he means well. It's just, he sees Trump as the better option. So, I think maybe he just wants him in office. I think a lot of people feel that way. But he's been nothing but cool to me. And, he'd allow me to come on his podcast and say exactly what I'm saying now. And he'd have no problem with it. So I can't really say anything bad about him. He's been one of the better people to me in this, whatever this is. Can I get John Podesta on? No, I don't think I could. That would be a creepy interview. It would just like freak me out the whole time. So I'm good on that. When I drink beer, do I ever drink Hebrew or Bud Light? Like Hebrew? Are you making like a joke? It's kind of funny, but I'm just confused now. Do I drink Bud Light? No. I'm not gay, so I don't drink Bud Light. I'm just kidding. But also, yeah, I don't know. It tastes like piss to me. But to Dana White and Kid Rock, it tastes like freedom. Yeah, aka $100 million. Anyway, Linda said, I get sick of personalities. Hold on. I get sick of personalities thinking they're more important than the issues that need to be covered. Well, it's easy to think you're more important than the issues when you're getting millions of dollars to do whatever you want. I mean, this is part of the problem in media. And I'm not saying like, oh, people should be poor or everyone has to do what I want. But a lot of what I'm talking about, it's social circles. Like people are not, there's no, and if you get big enough, there's probably donors and like certain organizations, they do have big money, like literally pouring into them. But for most influencers that aren't that important, it's not like somebody's coming to them and saying, here's $5 million to shut up about this topic. It's just, you get opportunities and you get doors opening and you get on certain, in certain dinners and meetings, and you just know instinctually, like, if I talk about this, even though it's true, these people will hate me. So it's kind of like a social networking game. I think a lot of people, they're just really, as you're saying, like they're really just out for the fame and the money, and the opportunities for them matters more than the truth or the Constitution or really anything. And that's when it becomes a huge problem. And, if you look at like, I have no problem with people taking pictures and stuff because, like, listen, you go to the White House, take a picture. You're with Donald Trump, take a picture if you can. That's a cool picture. Like, it's epic. I'm okay with people like flexing, having a good time. But you got to understand, with some people, that's all it is. It's not just like, oh, I had a cool dinner with Trump, I'm gonna take a picture. All they're doing is taking selfies, living the celeb life, like networking with donors, and like that's all they care about. It's all vain. It's like Republican Kardashians to them, Mean Girls, got like, and that's when it becomes a problem. And it's like people get real petty. They don't actually care about anything. It's all about them and how they looked, and it's at least protect the Constitution and basic principles. Like if you're just hanging out and dressing up, but you blacklist everybody who talks about this, then yeah, it kind of sucks. Murray said, here in Scotland, the hate bill's here now. The police are so overwhelmed in the first couple of days that they won't be able to solve any other crimes now. God bless Scotland. And dude, like people don't realize how good the First Amendment is. That's why I'm so consistent on this topic. I've seen how Europe does it. Like Europe has a lot of these same speech laws that Republicans are passing. You're just way more far gone. Let me ask you, Mr. Scotland, brother. Like, does nobody in Scotland think like, what's going on in this world? Are people just stupid or crazy? Like, no one in Scotland's like, hey, it's probably a bad idea for the police to spend all their time like, policing memes and Facebook posts. No, everyone in Scotland's like, hey, mate, it's okay. It's like everyone's cool with that. Like, it's hard for me to fathom because I feel like this country's weak, but apparently it's not compared to Scotland, and I'm not. It just like it upsets me just thinking that like 90% of Scotland's like, yeah, let's arrest people for telling the truth on Twitter. It's like, is anyone thinking that that's a short-sighted idea? No? Crazy. Someone said, without the freedom of speech, we may be led dumb and the silent to slaughter. And that's what's happening. And it's getting so, I'm not saying like bad, like, cry, but it's getting so weird in America that Republicans, they don't want to admit that Donald Trump is also selling out the First Amendment because it's like overwhelming. It's like, wait, I thought we were like so many people on Facebook, they're like, I thought the Democrats were doing that. They are, but that's the left, but it's also the right. Like people don't want to cope with that. So they just ignore it. But to me, ignoring it is why it's happening. So it's a fundamental difference that I have in how I see these things, right? I think if people don't voice their opinion against it, then it's going to continue. Other people think they just need to believe in Trump and funnel their attention to him and act like he's doing it for some super secret reason. I'm going to just read this, not because I'm mad, but I found it insane and kind of funny. One of the comments on my YouTube video, it was this lady telling people like not to trust me. And I don't care. I'm just saying like her reasoning. It's like, this is the level of some of these people right now. It's really wild. She writes, this guy speaking is definitely a Democrat. Seems to me he's doing some mind control here. Keep in mind, she's spelling everything wrong. Punctuation's crazy. She's using 4 commas instead of 3 periods. Like this lady is like mind control spelled with a Y in it, like mind control. But she says, Trump is our current commander in chief. His executive orders show he's definitely in control to bring down the deep state. Be careful who you follow. So it's like, she's like, he's a Democrat. She can't spell anything right. She's losing her mind. But she's like, he's a Democrat. Trump is the current commander in chief. Don't believe anomaly. Don't believe your own eyes and reality. Trump is the current commander in chief. He has a plan. Like, dude, this is the level of a lot of people that support Trump. It's not everybody, but it's more than 0. It's more than 1 million. Like that's really going on. It's wild. Yeah, it's crazy. Someone said, like Jordan Peterson says, pick a side. Pick a side. Clean your room. He says pick a side because he falls for every false paradigm. I don't want to dunk on the guy, but it's like he falls for vaccination. He falls for Second Amendment propaganda. His foreign policy is identical to his employers, and he seems like an empty vessel. It's like, yeah, of course he wants to pick a side because why do you think he's always wrong? Because he's picking a side. I don't say these things to be rude or even start a fight because I don't want to argue with people. I'm not that confrontational. It's just like I'm trying to save people's lives and I'm trying to save people's reality. Because if you're listening to Dan Bongino during the pandemic, he admitted he got vaccinated because he thought that the virus was Chinese and the vaccine was American, which may be true. So the America beats China. And this guy's leading millions of people. And they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Listen to Dan Bongino. So I could get dumber. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, I would have to drop my IQ like 40 or 50 points in order to think, let me go get the Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson shot because America beats China. I know they think that way. That's why I don't listen to any of their shows. They think exactly like that, like drooling, low IQ nonsense. So I inject myself into these conversations not to argue. I don't want to argue with Dan Bongino, but it's like this is the guy that millions of people are listening to. Someone comes in my comment section and she's like, you're full of hate. I listen to Steve Bannon's War Room. Cool. China, right? The China virus, American vaccine, Trump, Operation Warp Speed. Well, like, yeah, I'm sure, like, cool. Like, that's awesome. Congrats. But like, it's like they're spiraling because like, that's not what I'm hearing every day. It's like, I'm sure it's not. Like, I'm sure you're not hearing any of this. I'm sure the anti-Semitism hate speech laws that are being poured into American legislation have never been talked about once or even twice on that show. That's crazy. Someone said, thanks for keeping it real no matter what. $10 super chat. Aside from building your own media platform, have you considered talking to Vox Day about joining unauthorized TV? You're the definition of unauthorized. No, I mean, God bless what they're doing over there. I don't see myself like just joining that, but it's no disrespect at all. It's just, they're doing their own thing. It's impressive. Doesn't seem like I've never really thought of that. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's just, I'm just doing my own thing. Someone said we recognize the issue. How do we solve it? Just by, I don't know what you're referring to. Someone said my gut told me not to follow the rest down that rabbit hole. Everyone I know, you're talking about the jab. Here's the part that really bothers me a lot because, like, all right, Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, these type of people, I'm not saying for sure, but like they call everything anti-Semitic, right? Everything's anti-Semitic. Don't listen to Louis Farrakhan. Don't listen to Anomaly. I'm nothing like Louis Farrakhan. I'm just saying, like, in general. And then it's like we're telling people a different narrative about the vaccine, but they've already brainwashed their audience that everybody's so bad and so hateful. And it's like, and then they're like 2 years late on this topic. That's why you can't just falsely label everyone all the time or like label everyone names and tell everyone that they're crazy. Like Ben was fighting, trying to tell black people to like stop listening to Louis Farrakhan talk about the vaccine because the vaccine's so good. Like, does he not have, like, that's crazy, So it's like they basically blacklist everybody in 2019. And then in 2020, they're all wrong. You got Dan Bongino getting the vaccine because he thinks it's going to beat the China virus. And it's like, millions of people are listening to these people. I don't need to go on anyone's show. And at this point, it's probably not going to happen. But if you watch my reporting from 2020, it's way smarter than anything Dan Bongino or Ben Shapiro were doing. I explained to people how the PrEP Act works. I explained it to my family as well. The PrEP Act and the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act and the liability shields and the history of Pfizer and the history of Moderna, which was non-existent. Moderna hadn't put out a single product to the market. The only reason that they were able to warp feed this into the public, Trump didn't help you or save the world. That's crazy brain. It's crazier than a liberal thinking that. He rushed it so the pharmaceutical industry could declare an emergency, which they did through the pharmaceutical guy Trump put at HHS. And that emergency was a liability shield, so they didn't have to pay for injuries, side effects, and deaths under the PrEP Act. If people would have known that, I guarantee you that 50% less people would have been like, well, that's a little sketchy that they're telling me that there are none of these things, but they're protecting themselves from any, ever having to do any payouts on it while they gaslight you into thinking that it's not possible. Like that's what made me not want to get it, understanding the history of the PrEP Act. And credit where it's due, Bobby Kennedy was a huge reason that a lot of people, including myself, knew that because he's been talking about that for years. So I don't need attention. I don't care what Ben or Dan thinks. God bless them. I wanted their audience to know this in 2020 because if their audience knew this, it doesn't have to be through me. somebody just tell these people, because if you listen to Ben Shapiro, he's like, listen, oh my gosh, black people won't get the vaccine. Oh my gosh, Louis Farrakhan. Oh my gosh, anti-Semitic. Oh my gosh. It's like, that's what his audience is hearing. Oh, Ben's so smart. He's a genius. His wife's a doctor. It's like, yeah, he's so smart that he's 2 years late on this topic, yet he seems to blacklist people that know the truth about this topic. Oh yeah, that's genius level IQ. It's like, it's not smart. It's just diabolical. So, he's only one person, but this is, people don't have to believe me, but this is how I really feel. I don't care who listens to me or what. I just want people, like, when tens of millions of people are facing this really tough decision, they're getting bullied by the government and their corporations. I would like people to have this information, because it could have changed a lot of lives. But, and then also, in a more selfish way, to be honest, the more people that got the vaccine, the more screwed the people that didn't get it were. So, when 70 something percent of the population gets the vaccine, now, all the people who didn't get it are outnumbered. 50% of the country didn't get it. That was the protest. So when Sarah Huckabee Sanders and all these people were running around telling people to get the vaccine, Trump, DeSantis, like, they're controlled opposition, essentially. It's like, oh, let's do this and then act shocked at the results. I said mandatory vaccinations were coming in 2019, and some people said it even earlier than that. So then we know these are coming, and then they're telling everyone to go get vaccinated when the vaccine manufacturers have no liability for side effects and injuries. Dude, the Republican Party is disgusting. And this is why you need to love yourself and respect yourself. Because if you don't love yourself and respect yourself, I'm not talking ego, I'm talking self-appreciation for your life, then you would never like these people. But people are so dumbed down and weak and pathetic that they're like, it's Stockholm syndrome. They're obsessed with these leaders that literally wouldn't care if you got thrown into a fire pit. Like, it's so inexcusable what they did, but nobody cares because they don't, like, some guy said to me in the comments, he's like, you're so hateful. It's like, bro, you're just pathetic. And I'm not trying to start fights on Instagram, but, like, I'm hateful because I said something that you can't cope with. So now you're spiraling and saying that the truth is hate speech. You're just like a liberal. Republicans don't even realize that they've turned into liberals. Like, everything they say about left wingers, they've become. They call the truth hate speech. They ignore the fact that their party's passing hate speech laws. They print the money. Like, there's almost zero difference. It's just the Democrats pretend to do something different and they don't. And then the Republicans pretend to do what you want them to do, but they're not even doing that. They'll get some wins every now and then, like societal wins. Idaho will ban, like, kid gender change and stuff. But, like, nationally, there's really not that much difference. And even now, that's the whole reason that I'm, like, interjecting myself into this speech law conversation. I don't think America's going to last very long if we don't have the First Amendment. So it's not like, oh, I really want attention. No, I know what I'm talking about. I could beat a debate. I could beat Charlie Kirk, Shapiro, any of these people in a debate on this topic of the hate speech laws being passed. I know what they say. I know the legislation. They can't gaslight me or lie to me like they do their audience. So it's like, I'm not doing this because it's like, oh, I need money and attention so bad. I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it could be better, could be worse, but I'm chilling. It's just a matter of, like, are we going to just gaslight our audiences into not realizing this until our country's like Scotland and then everyone's going to play dumb? That's what the Republicans do. They sell you out, they do it, and then they all play stupid like they didn't know it was going to happen. Oh my gosh, Democrats are mandating vaccines. Oh my gosh, you were in on it. What are you talking about? It's like, dude, they're almost worse than Democrats, not because their legislation always is. Sometimes it is. It's because they're pretending to be your best friend and the savior from the Bolsheviks and the communists, but they are Bolsheviks and communists. It's crazy. Like, it sounds crazy, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. So that's the whole dynamic. Like, I know people think, obviously, I hold it down for myself, and I definitely will, say that I said this or did this, and it seems arrogant or whatever, but I'm just trying to, one, document history so people can't lie about me, but also it's like, let's tell people this, I don't need to be there. I don't care who does it. If someone could do it better than me, let them do it. But you're not going to just sit here and lie to my audience, lie to the conservative movement for the next 10 years until we turn into like a third world country. Just like I didn't bow down to the left. I never went along with what they were doing. I'm doing the same thing to the right. It's just people on the right, they don't want to do that. So they're really just the same thing that we all hate on the left, on the right. That makes sense. Someone said people think we're going to vote our way out of this is hilarious. And I'm not even telling people not to vote. If you feel conviction to vote for somebody in this election, go vote. But yeah, it's not going to fix everything. So it's not like, oh, I'm screwed. It's just like, that's the truth. Like that's just how it works. Would I ever debate Destiny? Like, dude, if debaters were prostitutes, he'd be the top prostitute. And I'm not saying he's literally a prostitute, but it's like that dude is like whoring himself out on everyone's podcast. I'm not opposed to debating, but he's debated it's like a girl who, she's banged 5,000 people in your town. And it's like, do you want her next? And you're like, not really, like, it's not like I hate him or anything, or it's just like, he's just like, I've seen him debate everyone all the time, and I never watch it because I don't care what he has to say. I don't think like it's just whatever. But someone said it's triggering anomaly, and triggers are triggering. Well, Linda, you lost me there. Someone said Americans need to wake up for their political delusions. Yeah, I mean, I think it's slowly happening, but I don't know. You can't really rush God's timing or the universe's timing. Like you'll drive yourself crazy freaking out over what other people think. And that's a large portion of the left and the right. They're like unstable because they're like, I want you to believe what I believe, but that's not how the world works. So they're like, both sides are like spiraling and they're like getting angry. And it's like, it just creates this energy of like madness. I don't know. I'm not trying to argue. Was Max Holloway's KO the greatest of all time? I believe that was one of the best moments in not just UFC history, but in fight history. It's up there. I think it's a top 5 knockout in UFC history and a top 5 knockout in all of mixed martial arts or all of fighting history, including boxing. I mean, it was an incredible fight, incredible finish. I'm still like blown away by that. Crazy. Could Trump be a Trojan horse? 1,000,000%. He absolutely could. All signs are leading towards that. I've been saying it for 40 years now. I think it's that. I hope it's not. But yeah, I mean, he could be a Trojan horse. Yeah. I think with politics, like what people need to understand with Trump is a businessman, right? And every businessman, there's a certain game that they're playing. Some businessmen are very ethical, right? They'll only do certain business, organic products, whatever. Other businessmen would sell water to a whale and salt to a snail. They're just trying to sell. Trump, as a politician, he is a good businessman, but the problem is like, I could be good at business and do $1 million deal to sell you guys like, 15 vaccines and crappy bread. But I turn down money in order to do what I believe is more ethical. Trump is really not that person, in my opinion. So business for him includes selling you out to the pharmaceutical industry and lying on behalf of them. Trump is like a pharmaceutical like spokesman, you know what I'm saying how great their products are, justifying his lockdown, pathologically lying about other governors to pretend like it's like, yeah, he's a businessman, but not all business is good. And this is why I don't even talk about capitalism and socialism and communism, because I do mention them. I do think that communism and socialism are short-sighted, but people need to understand this is not capitalism, in my opinion. What's going on in this country, what Trump did, Trump's not a capitalist. Like nothing about the lockdown or Operation Warp Speed or COVID, it's not capitalism. It's not even close. But even if it was, it only works so far as a moral population. Even a lot of the founding fathers said, this stuff only works if the population is moral. You can't work this with immoral people. So that's the thing is like, you could be a capitalist and sell the most horrific product that hurts everybody and make a fortune. It's not good. Like this country worked when the population was conscious, moral, self-aware, and in my opinion, mostly religious. I'm not saying all non-religious people are bad or all religious people are good, but that was a formula that seemed to work a little better. And now that it's not that way, none of the systems will work. It's just communism and socialism or, fascism will work worse depending who the leader is. Like, there's a chance that certain elements of it could work better if the leader was a moral leader who was using government power to do the right thing. But if they're scammers on both sides, it doesn't matter if it's socialism, communism, or libertarianism, it's going to fail anyway. It's just you'd rather have more freedom from a tyrannical leader, Like, none of the systems work with tyranny and sellouts, and both parties are sellouts. So there's no, in my opinion, like strategic reason to just lie about this. Someone said, thank you for being honest. One critique is stop complaining about those who snubbed you, stay consistent, and they'll invite you back again. Black Swan event soon. I don't know about the Black Swan event, but here's what I'll say. I'm not disagreeing with your criticism or whatever critique. But I'm not asking to be on. You have to understand, certain people, either I don't want to go on their show or it might not be a possibility. But I believe, and this is not just like a petty thing, like, oh, they won't have me on the podcast. Listen, I've hung out with Joe Rogan, talked to him, and he's never had me on the podcast, and I never care. It's not like he doesn't need to have me on the podcast. I don't need to talk to anyone else. I don't walk around demanding that everyone talks to me. Like, I don't really care. I never cared. I don't expect anything out of anyone else. I just talk about people that did me dirty. I know that certain people have blacklisted me. I know certain people have did me dirty in multiple ways. It is what it is. I'm not saying I'm like, I care that much, but it's like these people think that they're just going to throw me under a bus and that I'm going to be nowhere. So it's like, if you're going to try to do that, then I'll use your name as leverage to enter the conversation and, change the course of what's going on. So it's like, if I put your name in a thing and it gets 50, 60,000 views, and now your audience is seeing it and they understand that I'm telling the truth, that's just my way of entering the conversation. Like, Ben Shapiro would never debate me. So, I'll debate him on my channel. I'll debate what he's saying. That's really it. When it comes to people like Patrick, I've forgiven Patrick. I mean, it is what it is. Like, that's his choice of how he operates and what he wanted to do. I definitely felt slighted and almost like he was trying to just run over me, maybe look at my analytics and just completely blow me off when it came to a conversation, which shows that he doesn't respect me, which is fine. Other people do that are more, in my opinion, great at what they do. People that are like goats and legends of the sport that respect me more than him. That's fine. It's his choice to do that. But at the same time, he just entered the scene of media, right? He wasn't here 4 years ago. He wasn't saying anything, at least that I've seen. And now he's becoming this huge conservative. If he's going to come in and just be another Daily Wire and try to force Chris Cuomo as fake opposition and steamroll over me and not have me on the podcast, it's not that I care so much about getting on the podcast. I'm just saying, it's like, I'm not looking for another Fox News or like the new CNN or the new, Blaze Daily Wire. It's like, that's what we're all tired of. So it's not really that I'm personally like super petty. It's just like, you're not going to steamroll over me and act like I don't exist, especially if you're going to do stuff that's like just totally not true or whatever, that I perceive it that way. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, there's a moment where I feel certain ways, other times I don't care, but it's more just like, I'm going to enter the conversation. This is what I think, take it or leave it. No hard feelings. Someone said Jack Nicholson was wrong. We can handle the truth. Thank you, Susan Robinson. Thank you for the $50 super chat. I appreciate you so much. It's time to visit Eastern Europe, bro. Iskren. Bro, I would love to go to Eastern Europe. There's a lot of places there I'd like to go. I heard a lot of good things about just the people there, the vibes. So God bless. G. Edward Griffin respects you. Yeah, I'm not trying to have absolutely he does, but I'm not trying to do like a clout chasing this person, that. I'm just saying, like, sometimes people will be disrespectful and you'll be like, oh, well, that's just who they are. And it's like, there's bigger, richer, more successful people that don't act that way and they treat people respectfully. Having money or a podcast doesn't mean you should just be a piece of shit to everybody all the time. But in general, it's not like a clout, like, oh, this or that. It's just like, it's a little more personal to me. I'm going to be honest now. It's a little more personal because if I felt like, oh, I'm just not getting these opportunities because like they just don't care, or I'm not networking, or they just don't like me or whatever, it's whatever. I know that I've been blacklisted from a lot of media companies. Like I told you, you asked me what I thought about Michael Malice. I've never thought anything negative about the guy, never listened to him, but I know that he's gone out of his way to try to stop me from getting opportunities. What am I supposed to think about somebody that tells somebody I'm friends with not to have me on the podcast and not to speak to me? Like, what am I supposed to think? I've never done that to him. And even now, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't tell someone not to talk to him. Why would I stop someone from having a conversation with someone else? So these are the games that people have been playing with me for 4, 5, 6 years. So I don't feel like I haven't gotten certain opportunities because I'm not good enough or they don't care or whatever. It's because there's more people like Michael running around behind the scenes, probably dozens of them. I know at least multiple people that are telling everyone, don't talk to Anomaly. He's far right. He's hateful. He's anti-Semitic, whatever, blah, 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 because I disagree with these speech laws. So, whenever a new media company pops up, they won't talk about it. And then they treat me that way. I feel an extra sort of way about it. It's not because I need attention or anything. I know that I've been actively blacklisted. It's the same way, I was talking to Clint Russell and I don't know who he was talking about, but he's like, when it comes to Dave Rubin, he's like, I know that he's run around trying to get my friends fired. It's not like, oh, we disagree. I've never tried to get him fired. I've never told people not to talk to any of these people. I want them to talk, but they're projecting this whole false persona of like, no safe spaces. We believe in free speech. We believe in the right to debate. And then they're running around behind the scenes doing the exact opposite, openly promoting the foreign countries that are getting rid of peaceful protests and saying that that's good because it falls under the bias of the foreign country that they think is above the First Amendment. So it's like, that's where my energy is coming from. I'm not a person. I don't expect anything from anyone. Joe Rogan he doesn't need to have me on. He's the most famous podcast in the world. If he never has me on, I won't care. I mean, it'd be nice to go on and chat with him, but if he doesn't, that's his decision. It's not like I'm going to hound him and bother him for not having me on. But when it comes to Tim Pool, it's different. They flew me out. Honestly, in my opinion, they still owe me money. They said that they were going to pay for my hotel because they messed up the booking and they treated me like garbage, but they never did. That's fine. I don't need his money, but it's not like I'm just petty, like I hate him or I'm jealous. It's like he owes me money, in my opinion. When it comes to PBD, I've told that story. We've talked, I've met him, I've hung out with him, we texted, he almost hired me. I was talking to his lawyer. So to blow me off when I say, let's just have a conversation, it hits a little different. You know what I'm saying? It's not like if Joe Rogan did that to me, if Joe Rogan tried to hire me, I talked to his lawyers. We talked for 3 or 4 months, went back and forth, met his team, etc. And then afterwards, Joe Rogan just completely blew me off when I said, hey, let's just chat. Then I would feel that way about Rogan, but he's never done any of those things. So, it is what it is, but that's just how I feel. I'm just very transparent about it, especially because I know that there's dozens of people running around telling everybody, don't talk to me because I'm so hateful. And the real thing that they're trying to do is stop people from realizing that they're passing speech laws. So I gotta take off, not because of this, but I was trying to keep this under an hour and the lighting's going to get weird, but I'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a beautiful week. And I'll be back very, very soon. Hopefully you guys like this. I'll have actual stories, more guests and stuff coming soon. Appreciate you. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting